Hello, each and every one, and thank you all for listening to Beautiful Things Come From Struggle podcast. And today I have another wonderful, beautiful person who I've known for a great number of years, and her name is Ephiteo Evans, but I know her as Teo Evans. And she's going to talk about herself and her wellness business. So, Miss Evans, could you please tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Nate. Um, well, I am the owner of Emerged Wellness. I'm a mindfulness practitioner, and pretty much I offer wellness coaching. I facilitate fun and interactive mindfulness workshops that focus on topics that include, but are not limited to, emotion regulation, mindful eating, stress reduction, and unconscious racial bias. And my audience or my participants usually target audience is students in grade K to 12, adults of all ages, and that includes adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Wow, that's very that's very informative. Could you what made you want to begin such a business? Like what kind of inspired you to do such a thing? Because it's great.
Well, during the beginning of the pandemic, we're still in COVID, but I was experiencing some stress. I am considered an essential worker, so I had to work. I had to go to work all throughout the pandemic. Um, and so it was a little stressful. So I started to learn about how beyond spiritual ways,
Mm,
meditation,
mm,
yeah, and it helped me be more focused and less stressed.
mm. And so, were you intimidated at first when you started your business?
I wouldn't say I was intimidated. I was a little hesitant, nervous, anxious, but also excited to do something new, something I like doing.
Mm, mm. So, after you started it and now to see how it's becoming, how are you feeling about that now? Like, do you have that
I
joy?
feel good. I feel good. I'm in my third year. So the first year was pretty tough. I mean, everything that I do is coming out of my own pocket. So, it's difficult to get funding and things, but I did get a grant doing some work at the Roxbury Library. Got a grant for the second time this year. So, doing programming in the community has been encouraging, and I do some programming in the schools as well. So I did 1 year, the first year, last year, I started in one school, and this year I'm in two schools. So I like to say my business is not booming, but it's blooming. So I,
Mm,
it's getting more exposure, which is good because I can help more people.
mm. Did you obtain or receive any special schooling or training? If so, what is it? What is it?
Well, I'm a certified mindfulness and meditation instructor. I've taken workshops and trainings on trauma informed care, mindfulness, meditation. I have a certificate in mental health first aid. I've been working with youth and families for over 35 years. It's my passion in the community, doing different things like that. So I have over 35 years. Much of my training's pretty much been on the job. And I've also taken some courses in human services and early childhood education. So I
Mm,
teach myself through taking different trainings.
mm, mm. I have the honor and the privilege and the blessing to have known you for over 35 years. And I know the difference that you've made in my life and other people that we both know's lives. But what I want the listeners to know is tell us what it feels like when you're making a difference in other people's lives in what you're doing, that the difference that you're making in other people's lives with regards to your wellness business.
Well, I can say that I'm grateful to have been able to see the fruit of my labor. It's not always uh, possible. You don't always get information back from people, but I have heard from parents and children that they enjoy the services that I receive, that I give to them. Just looking at some of the reviews that I've gotten, that parent was said that the children love the connection between their emotional and physical experience, and they feel like their children have gotten um, some good some good things out of the program, like being more emotionally expressive, engaged, and being to articulate their feelings more.
Mm, mm. Just hearing you talk about that, it takes me back to um, when I have had and still have the opportunity to mentor and talk to high impact at risk youth, and it's the
Mm,
feelings that knowing that I'm doing my part, and knowing that I have an opportunity to talk to somebody else's child, and to hear you do these same things, and the gratitude and the blessings that God has given you, the jewels and the wisdom that He's given you to do this stuff is incredible. Um, but what is it like being a woman of color in operating your own business?
it's been good. I can say that. Um, Thankfully, there are a few successful women of color that are in this field, and that's encouraging. I'm part of groups that allow me to connect with other women of color who are doing similar, who provide similar services. So it's been encouraging. It's been
Mm,
learning. It's a little sad to hear about the high increase in suicide in the Black community among young people, but I'm hopeful and grateful that I can hopefully help decrease those numbers.
mm. Yeah, suicide is something that I've dealt with myself. So you do deal with
Mhm.
suicide prevention.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I think
So,
I think that
yeah,
no, please go ahead. Go ahead. You gonna say
I
something?
would say just in the work like suicide prevention, I help people reduce stress, and I help them to reduce anxiety. And sometimes high stress and high anxiety leads people to want to um, do suicide. To leads people to suicide. We don't like to use the word commit because that makes it seem like it's a they're criminals. But if someone dies by suicide, that's what we would say. Someone died by suicide, and hearing that along the amount of people that have died by suicide in the Black community, especially the young people, is disheartening. But I'm also,
Mm,
as I said, hopeful. I can help reduce some of
mm,
the stress.
mm. You talked about anxiety, and as you know, like I just after 30 years, I overturned my sentence, and now I have the chance to go home. So my anxiety level is high. What
Hmm.
advice would you give me in dealing with that anxiety that I feel right now?
Well, because I know you, I can give you this advice. But usually, if I'm dealing with individuals and clients, I would try to find out what they like to do, what works for them. So I would say some deep breathing exercises would probably be helpful for you, and not this is for anybody though, not in the moment, but at any time. Something that you practice, even when sometimes people want to do stuff when they're feeling the anxiety, but to practice deep breathing when you're not in a situation where you're feeling that anxiety.
Mm. Another thing that in talking with you that excites me and that I can't wait to be involved with is what you call race wheels or race rails or something. I may be saying it wrong, but Could you tell the listeners a little bit about that and how you came into that?